Good evening, everyone. This is Les Swartz, and welcome to Swartz Talking Sports. I am live from Santa Rosa Beach, Florida. I'm at the Simmons home. Big Florida Gator fans, so we got to throw that out there real quick. We got a great show for you tonight. We're going to go a little bit off base here, but I think it's going to be great. Before I start tonight's show, I don't want to throw this one out. I'm not in the studio. My producer didn't know I was going to do this, but we lost another sports figure this week. It seems to happen every week, unfortunately, but we lost a great Dodger pitcher, Fernando Valenzuela. Uh,
Wow.
oh, man, he was ready. He pulled it right up. So, yeah,
Wow.
just a tremendous rookie year. Mexican phenom. Not in the Hall of Fame, surprisingly. The Dodgers do have his number retired, but maybe someday they'll do the right thing and put him in the Hall. So RIP Fernando Valenzuela. So tonight, let's bring on my first co-host, former Florida A&M Rattler national championship quarterback and voice of the Rattlers football and basketball broadcast with Melvin Beal on radio, Al the Rattler Chester.
My man, how you doing, Les? I tell you what, good to see you tonight. But I tell you what, really enjoyed seeing you on Sunday night when we had a chance to break some bread down on the beach in Jacksonville, Florida.
Exactly. For everyone out there, everyone thinks Al and I have known each other for like years. We're doing this show, but for the first time, Joni and I got to meet Al in person. We spent 3.5 hours, like Al said, breaking bread, just the stories, the laughter. It was fantastic. So it was just such a pleasure meeting an amazing gentleman like Al Chester. So, and he's better in person, folks, than he is even on the screen, just to let you know. Yeah, we got a great one tonight. This is going to be really interesting. We had some fun before we went on live. I think a lot of people are going to get a lot out of this show personally. So without further ado, let's bring on celebrity personal trainer Scott Parker.
My man,
How
Scott,
you
how you
doing,
doing,
guys?
buddy?
What's going
All
on,
right.
Albert? How you
Good
doing,
to
Les?
see you, man.
Good to see you as
Hey,
well. Thanks so much for having me, guys. It's a pleasure and an honor.
Scott, thanks
Les,
so
I
much.
got I,
A
I got to
FAMU guy,
start the show.
Scott. FAMU.
Yeah, I got to start the show, man. This guy is a rattler, man. I tell you what, I'm so proud of what he's done, his accomplishments, and all the things. I tell you what, I've had a chance to travel around the world. There's rattlers here, rattlers there, rattlers everywhere, and Scott Parker is one of those guys that's getting it done, man. Scott, thanks for showing up and showing out for us, man.
Hey, man, when you look at your phone and you see the name Albert Chester in the FAMU world, that carries a lot of weight. I can remember being in the Tampa Classic in the 70s and playing Bethune-Cookman College, and they would say, Albert Chester, number 2 in the program, number 1 in your hearts. So I can remember that as a kid. So to actually start, communicating with you live, man, it's such an honor and a pleasure to meet such a legendary Rattler in person. So thanks so much for having me. I appreciate you.
Hey, well, let's get this show started, Scott. Let's get it going, man. I tell you what, tell
Let's
us
do it.
how it all started.
Wait a
How it
second.
all
Wait a second.
started for
Hold
you.
on. Hold on. I'm insulted. When Scott heard my name, nothing like that happened at all.
There's some was ringing about Twinkies, but we'll get back to that a little later. I did hear something. Definitely
All right,
heard
go ahead,
something.
Al. Let's start it off. Let's kick it
All right,
off.
let's get it going, Scott. Tell us how it all started for you, where you grew up, how you matriculated from high school to FAMU. You got your background in biology, but now you're kicking it as a celebrity personal trainer. Talk to us about that. Walk us through that process.
Well, I'll tell you, I'm from Gainesville, Florida. I think Les, you mentioned that you're in the home of a Gator shoot tonight, so that's pretty ironic. I grew up in Gainesville, and matriculated to Florida A&M University. While I was in graduate school there, I actually started teaching some boxing classes. I come from a very active family, law enforcement family. My mother's very active. My father's 96. He still plays golf. So we've always been athletic and active. But while I was in graduate school at FAMU, myself and a friend of mine, Norris Summerall, who's also a FAMU graduate, we started doing boxing classes for fitness. And that was kind of my first foray into actually teaching people anything that had to do with fitness. Within about 3 months, they had us on the news doing, this is pre-Billy Blanks. I don't want to date myself, but before there was Tybo, there was Scott P's boxing workout at Goals Athletic Club on Appalachia Parkway. So that's kind of where I got my start. That's kind of where I got my start in fitness, teaching boxing classes initially. Progressed from there. I've had some stints in corporate America. I also was a high school teacher down at Tampa Robinson High School. Shout out to Tampa Robinson. That's my second home. And just through the years, I've had various forays in terms of training people, not even for a business. Initially, it's just a passion that I have. And I met a personal trainer, and she was living in Los Angeles when I was working in New York at the time. And she was telling me about her lifestyle, and what it boiled down to is she was working about half the time that I was working and making about 3 times the money. And she was doing something that I loved. So I started exploring it. I got a couple of certifications. I started going back and forth to Los Angeles, meeting some people. And my very first celebrity client, ironically, was Albert. You remember Tisha Campbell from the Martin Show?
Yeah, yes.
I remember.
Yes, yeah. Tisha was my very first celebrity client. I started training her after she had her first son, and over the course of about 8 months, we lost about 65 pounds together and got her back ready for the my wife and kids television show. So that was kind of where I kind of broke into the celebrity piece of it. And from them, it's just been kind of word of mouth. You know, someone sees some of my results and they say, "Oh, who did that? Oh, Scott did that. You know, Scott, he's one." And it just kind of has grown from there to a pretty extensive list of clients, but really some really great results, from some really great people that I've had the pleasure and honor of working with. But it all started in Tallahassee. Teaching boxing classes. And honestly, I wasn't even getting paid, guys. I was doing it so I could have a free gym membership. That was my pay. I didn't have to buy a membership. So, but again, when you're doing something that you love, the pay just comes anyway. I truly believe that, and I'm living proof of that. I would like to say.
Scott, when you got into this and you got your T-shirt and then you got other clients, how does it work? Like maybe a female client versus maybe a male client, a little bit older, a little bit younger. Do you do just the weight training? Do you do the nutrition? Do you oversee everything? And normally, how long does it take to really get someone like, say it's a movie role, I'm just saying, and they need to be shredded. They need to lose 30, 40 pounds. They need to be shredded.
Right.
Can you do something in a month, 2 months? If you can, I want you to work with me and do it in 2 weeks. How can you do it?
Well, every single case is an independent case. Everybody has their certain specific set of circumstances that they bring to the table. So I try to be very surgical in my approach. I want to know, number one, what are your goals? Number two, what have you tried that has worked? What have you tried that has not worked? That way we can kind of narrow down, and not waste a lot of time. And then there's some hardcore nutritional principles and physical principles that I'll apply, based on my experience, just to see what works. But it's a case-by-case basis. I wouldn't train you the same way I would train Albert. I wouldn't train Albert the same way I would train your wife. And although there's some basic principles that apply, like the sugar content that we were talking about earlier, every single program is going to be completely different. But that's why I don't work with 100 clients, because I like to go one client at a time and really dial down to exactly how we got to this situation and how are we going to get out of it together. And of course, in Hollywood, you do have those people that want to make miraculous changes in 3 weeks. Now, I can make some quick changes. For instance, one of my celebrity clients is David Banner. He's an actor. He's actually on this latest show that Will Packer, who's a Rattler, as well as Kevin Hart are producing. It's called Fight Night. And David Banner is one of the principal gangsters on Fight Night. He was also one of my early clients. Well, when I met David, when I started asking him questions, I realized that he didn't drink water. He's like, "I'm from Mississippi. We drink Kool-Aid. We don't drink water." And what happened was I was training him at Albert, and I had him on the treadmill, and the guy wasn't sweating. And I'm like, "Dude, we've been on the treadmill for 25 minutes, and you're still dry." He's like, "I'm too cool to sweat." Well, what I realized is that he wasn't drinking any water, so he was severely dehydrated. So I gave him an appropriate amount of water goal every day, and David lost 18 pounds in 10 days of the water weight that he was carrying.
Wow.
So depending on the situation, you can make some dramatic changes in a short period of time, depending on what a person is doing or not doing.
Okay, what is the right? And let's just, I don't even know if we can get questions. Joni, how do we do questions tonight? Okay, you're going to get those to me. Okay, great. So my question, I've got so many, and I'm sure some of our viewers have them as well. What is the right water intake, Scott, for something? I've heard lots of things, some 64 ounces a day to whatever. If you got a guy that's been an athlete, I'm not Al, but I played sports my whole life, 5'9", 200-pound guy, work out 3 times a week, bike 10 miles a day. What is the right water intake? Because I know I don't drink enough water. There's no doubt about it. I don't drink enough. What is the right amount?
Well, again, I wouldn't make a blanket statement on that list. I would ask you, how much are you drinking now? And then we would incrementally raise that until I start to see some water weight and inflammation come down.
Okay.
And so that might be different. Your number might be different from Albert's number.
Okay.
But I would more so do that through trial and error. And if you're only drinking a 16.9 bottle of water a day, I'm not going to take you to a gallon.
Right.
I'm going to incrementally move you up to where in a level that you can handle and sustain. Because yes, there's quick fixes for camera, but there's also longevity for sustaining long life. So I don't want to put anything on you that you can't sustain for an extended period of time. That's how people get discouraged and they fall back to their old habits. So if you're drinking 2 bottles a day, I'll say, okay, next week we're drinking 4. And then at a certain point, I'm also going to measure your waist. And at a certain point, you're going to start seeing that waist coming down. So, okay, now we're in the sweet spot. You might need between 90 and 100 ounces a day, whereas somebody else might not need that much. Somebody else might need more. It's just a case-by-case basis. In general, I know the rule of thumb has always been half your body weight in ounces, but I don't like to just go by those blanket rules because everybody's biochemistry is going to be different. You're going to react to hydration differently from the next person. So I really like to dig in and see how these different things react to your specific body chemistry.
Scott, talk real quick about how the workout piece and the diet piece work, and how are you able to manage that with a client? I mean, to ensure that they're doing the right thing when they're not with you. Because sometimes, folks will work out and feel like when they get done, they can go eat a couple of donuts and it's okay because I just got through working out. But how do you ensure that, especially when they have a timeline to try to lose weight? And then part B to that is it dangerous to lose too much weight too fast?
So your first question, I would answer that by saying that how can I put this without getting too technical? Let me go to your second question first. It is definitely dangerous to lose weight rapidly. I want to get that out there. That's important. People put on these trash bags and starve themselves and go running 10 and 15, 20 miles a day. Those things are very unhealthy. Shocking the body in that manner can lower your immune system, especially with things like COVID and other diseases. You can make yourself more susceptible to different disease states and infections that way. That is never really a good idea. So let me just put that out there right now. I am definitely not a quick fix 20 pounds in a week guy, because you can run into a lot. You probably can run into severe dehydration that way, because when people lose, like those boxers and wrestlers and MMA guys, they're losing water weight. But when you lose, your body does need a certain amount of water and fluid to survive. So those guys are doing it for a weigh-in, and then what they don't show you is they're rehydrating. So they're putting back on 10, 12, 15 pounds of water after the weigh-in before the fight. But us out in, us civilians, we might not be doing it that way. So that can become very dangerous. To your first question, if it's a celebrity and they're getting ready for a movie, their livelihood and financial stability depends on it. So they kind of have built-in motivation. But for the rest of us, another thing that I try to instill is moving over from motivation to discipline. And what do I mean by that? Motivation is typically an outside source. I got to get ready for this wedding. I got to get this little black dress on. I'm getting ready for TV. I'm getting ready for a vacation. Those things are external. But as soon as it's cold outside or it starts raining, you might forget that and stay into bed. When you're disciplined, you want those changes just because you want them. That comes from internal. And that's completely under your control. So I try to find ways to attach fitness and health and wellness to people's lives in a way that makes them, want to be disciplined. I train one of my long-term clients is Jill Scott. I don't know if you guys are familiar with her, but when I first met her, I said, listen, I'm not talking about a look. We're not talking about aesthetics here. When I met Jill, her son was 6 weeks old. He's 15 now, but that's dating myself again. But when I met him, he was 6 weeks old. And I said, I want you to be able to sing at this boy's wedding. I want your blood pressure normal. I want your blood sugar down. I want you not at risk for heart disease. I want you to be around to sing when this guy's walking down the aisle. And she kind of was like, okay, this is about life, not a look. So again, going from motivation to discipline is the key, because then outside influences don't affect you. You're just doing it because you said you're going to do it.
Now, Jill Scott was in Why Did I Get Married and Why Did I Get
Correct.
Married Too? Those were great movies. Tyler Perry.
Yes.
Really
yes, I actually met her on the set of Why Did I Get Married Too while I was training. I have a client, Tasha Smith. I don't know if you saw Why Did I Get Married Too, but there was a scene where she had a dead person's ashes in her hair and she was in a bikini. I trained her for that bikini scene, and it was on that set that I met Jill Scott.
Well, Michael Jai White, he looked pretty impressive on that
Yeah,
set.
we used to work out at the same gym over here in Sherman Oaks. Michael Jai is a really good friend of mine. He's a great guy.
Yeah, big boy. Well, we do
Great
have a
guy.
couple of questions, but before I go to those, Scott, I
Hmm.
wanted to, before we came on live, we talked about this, and I think this is something that affects everybody today when they go shopping. And I talked about it not jokingly, like seriously. I go shopping,
Hmm.
and all of a sudden you go to checkout and you see Reese's Pieces, Reese's Cups,
Yes.
and
Yes.
I'm not thinking when I go in there that I want to buy
Hmm.
this stuff. Like today at the
Right.
gas station, and then I ended up buying a Kit Kat bar. Okay,
Yes.
I did
Yes.
it. Explain
Hmm.
that whole rationale there.
Well, there was a study that I came across a few years ago that showed that sugar hits the same sensors in your brain as cocaine. They're both just a dopamine release. And so sugar is a highly, highly addictive molecule. And that's why when you go in stores, you see candy around the cash register. They call it the point of purchase. And so what happens is you go in the store to get something else, and they put things with sugar in them at your eye level as often as possible. And we don't realize that we have these low grade sugar addictions. So when you see that Kit Kat bar, when you see that Twinkie, when you see that soft drink, even though you didn't intend to buy it, because you have a low grade sugar addiction, you'll just grab it on your way out of the door. It's just easy. And those things are placed there by design because sugar is such an addictive chemical and they make a lot of money by you buying sugary products that you did not intend on buying. But sugar has a very, very, very debilitating effect on the body when taken in high. It doesn't even have to take high doses. Your body can only process 24 grams of sugar a day. That's 6 teaspoons. To put that as a reference point, the average soft drink has anywhere between 30 and 40 grams a day in a 12-ounce can. So you can go, you said you're a biker.
Right.
I read a study. It was talking specifically about biking and sugar, and it said that it takes 75 minutes of moderate to vigorous biking to burn off 1 can of soda. So you can see how small amounts of sugar can really, really, really get you far off track in terms of your goal. So that Kit Kat in and of itself isn't going to kill you. But when you've gotten 6 grams of sugar from a pack of ketchup, when they've loaded your salad dressing with 10 grams of sugar, but it says fat free, when you had a glass of orange juice in the morning, but that's 18 grams of sugar, before you know it, you're up to 50, 60, you're up to 3 days worth of sugar. And you can't burn that off in your workouts. So a lot of people even have trouble staying level when they have, excessive amounts of sugar in their diet, let alone making progress. One of the first things I do when I meet someone is I address how much sugar they're taking in.
I feel guilty about that key lime pie we had Sunday, man.
I know you do.
Well, did you eat the whole pie or just the slice?
We had slice. We had a slice.
Slices?
A slice.
I look at that, and Scott, I look at that, and it's scary when you think about that because I look at it and I go, well, if I don't buy Coca-Cola or sugar things, but I'll get like ginger ale zero, which is sugar-free, no calories, and I'm like, well, that's fine for me to drink because there's no sugar in it, but maybe it's not the greatest thing in the world to drink, right?
I have a client in Orlando, Florida. Shout out to Jan Rigel. I took her off of diet. I don't like to call brand names. So let's just say I took her off of diet cola. She lost 8 pounds in 10 days.
Wow.
What happens is when you have artificial sweeteners and things that are similar to the sugar molecule, the body processes them the same anyway. So no, it's not a glucose molecule. It's not sugar, but it's so close that the body still says, I got to store that as fat.
Oh boy. Now I gotta go.
Yeah. So it is sugar free only because the artificial sweetener is not chemically defined as sugar, but it is a sweetener. It is molecularly similar to white sugar, and the body is going to process it similar to the way it processes white sugar. You got to go with water, good brother.
Well, I'm saying we got a ton of questions here. Normally, Joni asks the questions, but because we're remote, we can't do that. But here's a couple of them. So this is from one of our viewers, one of our loyal viewers, Rob. Do you recommend any supplements for weight loss?
Not initially. The first thing I want to address is good, clean nutrition and good habits. The very first thing I want to master is consistency. Hey, if you're just going to the gym for 7 minutes a day, but you're going at the same time every day, 5 days a week, that's a win just starting out. I'm going to address your water content. I'm going to address your sugar intake. Before we get to supplements, let's try real organic whole foods and see how that works. Once we see where we are with that, if you still have some deficiencies, then we address supplementation. That's just my process. But as we get older, you mentioned that you're 60, I'm 55. As we get older, it's harder for our body to process all these different things. So I try to keep it as natural, as organic as possible initially. Supplementation is exactly what the word implies. You're supplementing where you are deficient. So I don't want to start there. I want to get you proficient nutritionally. And then if you still have some problems, then we can supplement. I don't want anybody to go to the doctor and they get on high blood pressure medication when they haven't even addressed how much sodium they're taking in a day. They haven't addressed their stress levels. They haven't addressed that. Most people don't know that alcohol causes high blood pressure. You haven't addressed your cocktail content. There's a lot of places that I go, and once I've said, okay, all of the normal, traditional, natural, organic means have got us to this plateau. Now let's look at your levels and see if you're deficient. Then we can start talking about supplementation. But that's just my process.
All right, here's another one.
So the best supplement for weight loss is water, fresh air, sunshine, green leafy vegetables, and fresh fruit. And sleep. And sleep.
And sleep, which is, I think that's probably one of the most overlooked things. Sleep.
Absolutely.
You need to get your rest and your sleep, and not.
That's when the body recovers. That's when the body recovers. That's when the body fights disease. That's when those cancer cells die off and are excreted from the body. All those things happen while we rest. That's also the only time that your brain turns off. That brain's been running since the day we took breath. And the only time it gets a break is sleep. So
now, here's one for Tech for Fun wants to know, what's your take? And this is a very kind of controversial drug out there right now, but what's your take on Ozempic, and what's your take on fasting?
I'll go to Ozempic first. You have to understand that Ozempic is a diabetes medication. So I would caution anyone that is not a diabetic to be taking a pharmaceutical drug. And I speak from a place of, I used to be a pharmaceutical salesman. Okay. So I did that for 12 years before.
And I'm in the industry, Scott. I'm actually in the industry right now, pharma industry.
Okay. Yeah. I've worked for a couple of companies. We'll name them after we get up there.
Okay.
But I've actually sold a drug that was pulled from the market for adverse events, for heart attacks and sudden death. So I speak from a place of experience on this. I have people who have asked me if they should take Ozempic. If they are not diabetic, my advice is not to take it. Okay. Because you're not diabetic. So what that drug does is it kind of fools your body hormonally into thinking it mimics diabetes in the body and forces your body to do some other things. But when you're not diabetic, I caution people to take that type of drug. And you guys can look this up. Ozempic this, you're a pharmaceutical business. Ozempic has a black box warning.
It does.
For cancerous tumors in laboratory mice. They haven't tested in humans for that, but the black box warning, Albert, is the most stringent warning that you can get in a drug.
Ouch. Ouch.
And Ozempic has that black box warning for people who have history. I believe it's history of thyroid tumors in their family line or something like that. So if I'm not a diabetic, I'm not taking that.
Well, I just think people, Scott, out there, and Al, and you could probably relate to this from people that is that a lot of people just want the quick fix, right? They just want to drop the weight, and they want to be able to enjoy what they want to enjoy, eat what they want, drink what they want, and lose. So what is more important, or is it a total plan? Is it exercise is more important, or is it your diet? And that 4-letter word diet, to me, it's got to be a lifestyle change, because diets are you diet, you go, how do you change your lifestyle?
That's exactly what it is. Again, I have to try to find something about your life that will make you care about your health and wellness. I have to attach that to something. If you have children, do you want them to bury you at 6, or do you want them to bury you when they're adults? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, we have to find something that you care about in this realm. Otherwise, it's going to be a series of short-term fixes. And if you're taking drugs that are giving you certain results, but your lifestyle isn't changing, where are all those toxins going? If you're ingesting the same amount of, debilitating things that you were 3 months ago, but now you've lost all this weight, where there's got to be, that stuff's going somewhere. Where is it? What are we doing here? So you're still ingesting the same amount of toxins, but you're just getting
Yes.
some results as if you're not. It's just dangerous. It's just dangerous to me. In particular, if you're a diabetic and you've been diagnosed with diabetes by your primary care physician or your endocrinologist, then do whatever you have to do for, from a pharmaceutical standpoint. But if you're doing this as a lifestyle drug and your nail tech is giving Ozempic shots in the closet in the back, I think that's very dangerous. And I speak from a position, like I said, of someone who worked in the industry for a number of years.
God, Les and I talk about this all the time, that we live in a microwave society. People want instant results right away.
They want their
no one
entire
wants to
life.
work.
They want their entire life to be like American Idol.
That's right.
And
exactly.
they just want to skip the line and go right to the top. You want the results, but you don't want the work. Life just doesn't work like that long term, in my opinion. The more work you put in, the more work you get out.
Yeah. Out of curiosity, who's the most challenging client, the male or the female?
I don't want to get myself in trouble here.
We're not going to name names. We're not going to name names.
They both have their challenges. A lot of times I have to get past the ego check and the mano y mano of it all with a guy, with a male. A lot of times women can be preset in terms of what they think works, and they might not want to try something new. They want to, I have to run 10 miles a day, but you really don't. But they kind of get preset notions. I don't think it's necessarily gender specific, but I will say that I have run into, from a male perspective, a lot of peeing contests and things of that nature. But fortunately for me, because I have a background in martial arts, that kind of stuff kind of doesn't really affect me. But the men can be challenging because they used to play high school football, 37 years ago, and they're touting their records from field day in the 6th grade and things like that. Yeah, but you're here now and you're morbidly obese. So let's try it my way, Right. So it really just depends on person to person as opposed to gender. I've had some amazing female clients that I've gotten amazing results with. Shout out to Brandy Evans on P-Valley. You can see that 6-pack all over Instagram. And I've had some amazing male clients. Omarion, David Banner, those guys are like brothers to me now. They're like family. And, I've gotten amazing results all the way around. I really haven't had that client where it just did not work out, for whatever reason. Once we find some common ground, man, we get the results.
So we have a lot of viewers on the show, probably the age of 50 and up and things like that, into the 60s. And now studies have shown that weight training in your 60s and your 70s actually helps keep the muscle. You don't lose it like everyone thinks. 65, 70, you lose it. I want to talk about testosterone. As we get older, the males, lose testosterone. One of our viewers, John, usually can't be on tonight, but the question he wanted to know is testosterone therapy in people over the age of 60 under doctor's supervision. Is it beneficial for you if you're doing it under supervision because you lose the testosterone, you're replacing it, you're not abusing it like, say, a Lyle Alzado who did steroids for 35, 40 years, right? What's your take on something like that under doctor's supervision?
Well, if by under doctor supervision you mean that person has been diagnosed with low testosterone, then by all means.
Okay.
But if you have normal testosterone, then taking additional testosterone replacement therapy is kind of the same paradigm as the Ozempic, in my opinion. If you're diabetic, then it's the appropriate drug for you. If your doctor and endocrinologist said, yeah, you need this to normalize your blood sugar, then so be it. The same thing with your endocrinologist and your testosterone levels. If you have low T, absolutely get on it, because like you said, one of the biggest hallmarks of longevity and aging is how much skeletal muscle we can retain. And low testosterone is a real thing. And a lot of guys, you don't even have to be 50 for your levels to start dropping. I think our levels might peak in our early 30s, and then some people start experiencing decline. So in that case, it's critically important that you get on some low T, because the skeletal muscle is where our metabolism is. It's where, it's where the blood vessels are. It's where everything flows. So the more muscle you have longer in life, the more pain-free and active your aging process is going to be. So one of the biggest hallmarks of longevity is how much skeletal muscle you can retain. And if you have low testosterone, the TRT will probably be right for you, with your doctor's supervision, of course.
Now, Al, before we get into, because I want to ask Scott about professional athletes and injuries and, the escalation of injuries in the pro game, in the last 10 years, as opposed to 25, 30 years ago. If you're a man or a woman and you're 60 plus and you're working out and you've worked out before, but your mind's telling you, I can lift all this weight. The big thing is when you're younger, less weight, less reps, more weight builds more muscle. That's coming from like pumping iron, which I've seen religiously.
Right.
The movie
Absolutely.
Arnold Schwarzenegger. And then
Yeah.
over the age of 60, lighter weights, more reps are better for you. What's your take on, and I know, again, everything's individually. You have to look at your individual
Yes.
want to train, but
Hmm.
just as a generality, over the age of 60 or 65, is it better to just cut the weight and more reps as far as, less injuries potentially?
Well, the more weight that you're carrying, if you think about it, the more stress you're going to be putting on your joints and your organs in general. I had a really good friend that's a bodybuilder, and I think he's 62 now, and he lost 50, 60, 70 pounds of muscle. Look, I know you guys, football guys, look at the Pouncey twins and how small they've gotten since they
Yeah.
retired from pro football.
Hmm.
And a lot of guys lose weight, Albert, after they are they're done with the league. But the guys that don't lose weight, a lot of those guys you can see guys, who's the guy that played for the Saints? They might have died at 40. He was a lineman. But, a lot of those
Right.
larger guys who don't bring that weight down, and also they don't have the activity levels that they used to have when they were playing, but they're still consuming, 5, 6, 10,000 calories a day. And that eventually wears the body out carrying all that extra weight. So I definitely would say lighter is better as we get older. With that being said, I'm sorry, go ahead, Les.
Oh, I like say exercising, like, you could bench press 225, but is it better to just drop it down to 175 and do more reps? Because I understand as you get older, you think you can do it. Maybe your body can bench press that weight, but the
Right.
tendons and things are 61
Yeah.
years.
Yeah. So let's say you're still stuck on the combine and you want to keep benching 225. I can mimic the stress of a 225-pound bench press with lighter weight if I do compound movements. What do I mean by that? Put 185 on the bar instead of 225. Do it 15 times, drop down and do 15 push-ups. Bounce back and forth. You'll get the same stress on the muscle without the stress on the joints and the tendons of taking that 225 off that bar. So I like to mimic the stress on the muscle, because stress on the muscle is what makes it grow. So I like to mimic that stress as we get older without actually putting that weight on the joints. Because another thing is injuries take a lot longer to heal once you start getting up in age too. And, you sprain a shoulder or pop a nerve, pop a capsule in your neck, that can take 3 months to get back.
Yeah, oh, I know that. Well, we have a
Yeah.
question. Brandon Evans, probably a new viewer to the show. I don't know Brandon, but how do you
Is it
stay,
Brandon or Brandy?
Brandy? Brandy Evans.
That's one of my clients. She's a star of
Ah,
the show
okay.
P Valley on Stars. Hey,
All right,
Brandy, how
all
you
right.
doing?
Well,
She's a
Brandy,
beast in the gym too. Let me tell you.
thank you first of all for popping on to Sports Talk and Sports. We love it. I hope you can subscribe. We love the question.
Mhm.
How do you stay focused on nutrition and exercise with a busy travel schedule?
Well, there's a couple of oh, I'm frozen here.
Yeah, it's coming back and forth. That's happening. There we go.
Okay, I got it back now. Here we go. I have some strategies that I employ on the road because I travel a lot with my clients. Let's go specific. Let's say when I check into a hotel, right, and I'm going to order room service. I already know I'm going to have some type of lean protein and some type of green leafy vegetable and some water. Every hotel in this country has a salmon or a baked chicken or a Caesar salad with chicken or shrimp. But they all have some version of that.
Mhm.
So I just call down there and tell them what I want. And we don't have, mahi, but we have salmon. Okay, send that. So I don't play tricks with myself and torture myself by looking and see what all of the fancy options are, because I'm not going to eat that. I've already made a decision before I left the house how I'm going to live when I'm on the road. And yes, fast food and all those other things are convenient, but those doctor's visits down the line are convenient. And I think long term, my father's 96 years old and he's still driving. I want to be on that program. You know what I'm
Like
saying?
that.
So when
Me
I
too. Me
weigh,
too.
absolutely, you on your way, well on your way, brother. So when I weigh my options between eating something that I know is not the best for me and staying on program and living a longer, healthier, and happier life. See, it's not just about getting to 96. I want to get to 96 and be happy and be pain free and
Right.
vibrant.
Right.
Enjoy
My
your
father
life.
still gets absolutely, absolutely. So when I weigh those two and I look at what's the most important, 9 times out of 10 it guides my decisions. And even when I get off program, I go right back on.
Okay, so as healthy as you are, and you are, oh my God, you're like an inspiration. I'm like, when we finish the show, I'm going to drink some water. I'm not going to have anything bad. I'm telling
Oh,
you, I think
we're
I'm
gonna
a
take
whole
care of you
person.
once the camera's off. Albert and I are gonna let this go. Oh, I
Uh,
heard the word. We got to get back to that Twinkie conversation.
so I gotta ask Scott, what does
Yeah.
Scott Parker indulge? Like when you're out, and listen, I know you do this by the book and everything, but if you just say, you know something, I want to have something that tastes really, really good. What's on your menu? You know, it's something you want to indulge in. You don't do it.
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Lasagna.
Okay.
I love lasagna.
Wow.
Well, if I'm going to do something, it's going to because I don't really eat pasta. I have a gluten allergy, so it kind of messes with my system. But when I really want to cheat or want to do something, I'm gonna find some place that has a really good lasagna, and I'm going to eat quite a bit of it. Now, at the same time, I'm also going to have my green leafy vegetables and my water that day also. So I'm not going to eat lasagna for dinner and then wake up in the morning and have pancakes and waffles, and then lunchtime I'm going to hit the burgers. I don't let it carry on into become, a fabric of my life. I hit that treat and then I'm back on my program.
So leafy
But
Scott,
vegetables versus.
no,
Hold
no,
on. I got to ask this, Al, because you saw me eat
yeah.
it.
okay,
So
yeah.
I like my Caesar salad, right? But
Mm-hmm.
iceberg lettuce to me is good, but leafy lettuce is more nutritious. So really, all
Mm-hmm.
leafy lettuce, that's the way to go.
I'm a spinach guy personally. And when I order a Caesar salad, I ask them if they can substitute spinach or mixed greens because that iceberg is mostly water, which is good. It doesn't have a lot of nutrients in it. So I prefer to go, there's a lot of vitamin C, a lot of vitamin A, a lot of vitamin D in some of these other greens. And that's where I gravitate towards. But it's also you're eating that Caesar salad, even if it is iceberg, you're not eating a big plate of pasta. You're not eating a heavy cream sauce, over your meal. So a lot of losing weight is what we're not consuming as opposed to what we are consuming. Those two things go hand. You see these detoxes that people sell. All they're
Right.
really doing is pulling the sugar and starch out of your diet. But they tell you eat this thing in this particular order, and it's gonna they're pulling out all of the stuff that causes fat to store. So it's as much about what that iceberg lettuce is taking up space with the fiber that is causing you to not be hungry for other things that are less healthy. So if there's worse comes to worse, yeah, I'm going to go for the iceberg. But my preference would be greens or spinach or mixed greens.
Well,
Scott, let me ask you this.
go ahead, go ahead.
Hold 1 second, Les. Let me ask you this. As I get older, I see less is more. But now,
Yep.
what I try to do is I try to eat when I'm hungry, not because it's
Mhm.
breakfast time, lunchtime, or dinner time. Talk to me
Yeah.
about your thoughts on that. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't just eat just
I've
because I'm.
I've done a lot of experimentation on fasting, a lot of research on fasting, both on myself and a lot of my clients. And I'm a proponent of it. I try not to eat before 2 p.m. and I usually get up at 5:15. Up
Okay.
until about 2 p.m., I'm only having water, until 2. And what you'll find is one of the biggest things about fasting, people think, oh, I'm going to get so small. Human body is so amazing, Al. When you eat less food, your body responds by producing more growth hormone. So you can actually build muscle. And I've done this myself at 54 years old. You can build muscle eating one meal a day.
But Derek Henry does it. I mean, I saw his diet.
Absolutely. A lot of
It was
athletes do that. Debo
yeah,
Samuels does it as well. Yeah.
yeah.
DK Metcalf. A lot of those guys are doing that now. Eating one meal a day has been very beneficial to me. I have more energy, more mental clarity. Um, the whole big thing of breakfast wasn't a thing until the early 40s. The
Mm.
breakfast being the most important meal of the day was really a marketing ploy to sell sausage, I believe, some breakfast meat. It was a marketing guy, the same guy who made cigarettes more socially acceptable. They hired him to see how can we sell more sausage, and he came up with this strategy that we're going to make breakfast the most important meal of the day. I'll get these doctors to say that's true. Now we're eating another 1,200 calories in a meal that we weren't even having 89, 60, 70 years ago.
Right, right.
So I don't eat breakfast anymore like that. If I do, it'll be, some fruit or something. But mostly I drink water until around 2 or 3 in the afternoon. And then every once in a while, I'll do a 3-day fast where I'm just drinking water.
Well, I got to tell you,
But
Scott,
see,
Well, hold on,
I'm
I
sorry.
gotta
Let me just say one more thing,
Yes.
Al. Another very important part about fasting is that we're breaking our. I'm timed out again. Oh,
Okay.
another important thing about fasting is it breaks your emotional attachment to food. How many people that we know, as soon as they get stressed, they got to eat this. I don't got to have my ice cream. I don't feel well. That's not a healthy paradigm to be in. That every time your emotions swing, you have to eat something unhealthy. But when you're fasting, food becomes less important. And so we're not stress eating. We're not eating every time life throws a curveball at us. And the pendulum swings both ways. You know, we don't have to react to every single thing in life by eating something unhealthy. So fasting has been really great for me and a lot of my clients in terms of food does not drive our lives anymore when you fast. You know, you have a lot more time and a lot more space and a lot more energy for other things.
Well, Scott,
Makes
we've got
sense.
more questions, and I have to
Okay.
say right up front, we have the most live viewers we've had for any show. You have topped the list.
I'd venture to say that's the Rattler Nation.
You have beaten 5 Hall of Famers. You've had All Stars, Emmy Award-winning people. You've beaten them all. So let's get these questions in, and then I want to do a quick a thing on the NFL and injuries in pro sports today. But Roderick Johnson asks Scott about the Murph workout. This has got to be something you've done. What is the Murph workout?
Okay, the Murph workout is actually named after a deceased Army Ranger whose last name was Murphy.
Okay.
He was in Afghanistan, and they didn't have a gym. Obviously, he was deployed to Afghanistan, and so he created a workout that they could do in the desert that didn't involve any equipment. So what you do is you run a mile, you do 100 pull-ups, 200 push-ups, 300 body weight squats, and then you run another mile for time. Now, some people go so far as to put a 20-pound weight vest on while they do this, you know. But it's a real it will bend your mind in half when you get about halfway through those reps, and you're looking at all these reps that you have to go. But it builds so much mental toughness, and you talk about a confidence builder, man. The first time somebody completes a Murph, they're just on cloud nine. So and you don't have to start there. Like I said, you could cut it in half and just do that until you progress to completing the whole Murph. A lot of the CrossFit gyms do it every Memorial Day in honor of Murphy. So most people do it once a year, but me and most of my clients, we do it every Friday.
Well, I don't know, Al. The Murph workout looks very difficult. I'm more of the surf and turf workout, which
There we
we're
go.
gonna change.
There
We're gonna change. We're gonna
6 inch
change
curls,
that.
baby. Yeah, we're
We're
gonna
gonna
get you
change that.
moving.
So
Yeah.
another question now. One of our viewers, Matt Dunn. What are your thoughts on compression sleeves and leggings for recovery?
I honestly, Matt, don't have a lot of experience with that. You know, I would defer to a sports medicine physician or your physical therapist for that. You know, I don't get too far into, certain areas, especially if I don't have expertise or experience in. So I don't really have an opinion on that one way or the other than to speak to your physician or your healthcare practitioner.
Okay, and this is a big one. Barry
Mm-hmm.
Smith, another one of our loyal viewers and subscribers. What's your motivation to help others? I mean, listen, it seems like you just really enjoy working with people
I
and
do.
seeing people improve their lifestyles.
I do. It's just something that's very gratifying when you help somebody reach their goal. When you can sit back and say, I really improved that person's life. You know, there's a book I read called The Go Giver, and this is kind of where my philosophy on this comes from. And The Go Giver is a story about a person that gets through giving. You know, you've heard the term go getter. They recoined it go giver. And there was a point in that book that said when people want to start a business, the first question that they ask is how much money can I make from this business? And the book says that's a great question, but it's not a great first question. The first question you have to ask is how many people does it serve? And if you can find a business that serves a large number of people, the money will find its way to you. So I start at service. You know, Albert and I, alumni of FAMU, and our motto is excellence with caring. So I try to do things at a high proficiency level with a high level of caring from my heart. And when I do that, I'm already rich. And I can't really explain. I come from a family of teachers. My father was a science teacher. My mother was a physical education teacher and an assistant principal. I come from lifelong educators. I guess I've just been around teaching my entire life in some shape, form, or fashion. And I don't know, man. It just feeds my soul. I just like helping people. I'm gonna help you. I'm gonna help you once we get off the camera. I'm not letting you. I'm not letting you off the hook.
Hey, Scott, have you
But see,
authored any books?
I
Have you
have not,
authored
but
any
that's something
books?
I have not, but that's something I've been working on. I actually have I have a pretty good amount of it done. But it's just kind of, you don't really know what you want to share all the time. So things change. And then I'm
Right.
coming up with, when I first wrote it, I wasn't intermittent fasting yet. So now I had to go back and retool it, so, but there are going to be some things coming out, just in terms of my philosophies and my strategies on motivation and discipline and things like that. So it's coming.
Now,
It's coming.
and I know you're going to do your best to help me. God knows I need it. You know, so I guess let's jump to professional athletes real quick in the NFL, NBA, hockey, Major League Baseball. You just see such a plethora of injuries, serious injuries,
Yes.
ACLs, MCLs, torn Achilles.
Right.
Guys going down just so much more frequently than they did 25 and 30 years ago. Is it strictly because the players are bigger, faster, more explosive now? Or is it just because they don't train like they did? Because the collective bargaining agreement says, well, you know something, we're limited to one practice and we're not going to do full pads and we're not going to train as hard as we did. I know it's difficult because we haven't done the exact research on this case per case, but just again, a generality, what do you think?
Well, I watched your interview with Coach Simmons, with Willie Simmons, and he was talking about the time constraints that they have now in practice and how different that was from when he was playing, and dramatically different from when Albert was playing. And I think that when you decrease that practice time, you also decrease that firm foundation. People think muscle, but nobody talks about ligaments and tendons and joint strength. And what I see anecdotally, like you said, there's no research on this, but what I see from people, from professional athletes that I actually know personally and are friends with, a lot of performance enhancing drugs are building bigger, stronger, faster athletes, but they build them so fast, the tendons and joints and ligaments don't have a chance to catch up. And I personally think that that's where the injuries are coming from. It's coming from excessive muscle growth over shorter periods of time without building those firm foundations. And you don't just see it in professional sports. You see it in CrossFit gyms. You see it, everywhere. But I think that's because people are jumping to these sophisticated workouts and nobody knows how to throw that barbell on their back and do a squat anymore. I preach fundamentals. You're going to learn how to squat. You're going to do a deadlift. You're going to have proper form. You know what I'm saying? And then we'll progress with intensity from there. But I think a lot of athletes these days, what they're lacking is that foundation that we were getting a generation or two ago. And I think it's showing in the increased number of injuries. These guys are so huge and lightning fast now. There's no way those knees and ankles can keep up with that.
Scott, you talked about doing push-ups earlier. What are your thoughts on at what point should you just do isometric type exercises to give you the same type of workout, working the same muscle group as opposed to lifting weights? Muscle mass, building muscle mass, but isometric exercise vice lifting weights.
At a certain point when we're getting older, Al, I think you should do whatever you enjoy. Whatever's going to keep you going in there every day is what I mean.
Right.
So, I mean, we're not competing anymore. You know what I'm saying? I'm not getting in no bodybuilding contest, no fitness company. I'm definitely not getting in the ring and sparring anybody anymore. That's out. So my workouts, I enjoy them. Like, we used to be gym rats. Yesterday we did what's called a Calabasas stairs. That's 9 flights of 30 stairs straight up, and we did it 5 times. We might go run the sand dunes. We might do a 27-mile bike ride, but these are things that we enjoy. So at a certain point, I believe we should do what we enjoy and what we can sustain. And whatever that is at this age, just go ahead and do it.
Yeah,
because
exercise is important.
The consistency and the consistency of movement is what's going to give us the longevity. I don't care what you do, honestly. I'm not married to that, but do something and do it every freaking day.
Every day. Yeah.
Every day.
Being consistent. Consistency is the key.
That's going to win. That's going to win every time. Kobe's work ethic is legendary. I was talking to David West, and he was telling me about some of Kobe Bryant's legendary workouts. He's going in there from 4 to 6 in the morning. He's back at 11 in the morning. He's back at 5, just every day, just grinding it up, man. That's how you get to be successful.
Well, Scott, we could be here for 2 hours. Honestly, this is like I said,
I got a little more time.
50 minutes. We just got the call. 50 minutes in, I swear to God, I could talk to you for an hour and a half. And if you could help me out, oh my God, this
We're
would
gonna
be
get him
amazing.
together. Let's talk about alcohol.
Oh my God. No, we'll have to, no, you'll have to come back. No, seriously.
Okay.
I
No
would
problem.
love
No,
to have you come back.
I wrote an article for Men's Fitness Online about the effects of alcohol on fitness. So I have a lot to share about that too.
Does that include wine?
Yes.
Oh no.
Let me just give you this one little piece.
Onward trouble.
One little piece to take with you.
Yeah.
Anytime, and this is, we're going to speak in generalities here. Anytime you go past 2 cocktails, your liver reacts as if you poisoned yourself. So it turns off in order to filter the alcohol out of your system. That liver does not turn back on for about 48 hours. That's how long it takes to filter the alcohol out. So when you drink 2 drinks, and I'm not preaching, I enjoy a cocktail, and in my college days, I enjoyed more than a few. But when you get past 2 cocktails, you cannot burn fat for the next 2 days.
Ouch.
So we're talking about, so if I have a half a glass of wine, that's not.
That's not gonna kill you. That's not gonna kill you.
Okay.
Just don't drink the bottle.
Half a glass.
But once we uncork it, it's got to go.
Something. Scott, we'd have to have, I really wanted you to come back. Could you do that again? I really would love to have you come back.
Anytime. If I can fit it in my schedule, I like talking to you guys.
Yeah, because I think what's going to happen is we're going to get a ton of questions once, like tomorrow and the next day of, we should have asked him this, we should have asked him this. And I think we can do a whole new show based upon that. So
not a problem.
I appreciate you taking time out of your schedule to come on and join us. I know you're a big fan of Al's. Al's a big fan of yours, but
absolutely,
I become a huge fan, and I think everyone else is going to be better moving forward listening to this interview. I really believe so.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
I echo the same sentiments.
You guys.
I echo the same sentiments, man.
Thank you so very much.
Man.
Thank you so much.
First class guy, man.
Personal trainer extraordinaire.
Thank you so much. Oh, you're too kind. Stay hydrated, guys.
Thank you so much. We're going to be back with Benny the Book and more Al Chester after this.
Forever 24 Fit, Leland's only gym with 24-hour access. Get fit when it's convenient, utilizing Life Fitness, cardio, and weight machines. And for those of you who prefer free weights, there is a free weight area as well. Start your membership today and get on your way to a better you. 6 Happiness. Enjoy fresh Asian cuisine in a relaxed and friendly atmosphere where we believe good times deserve great food. Featuring the best sushi chefs in the Leland area. So come on in and we guarantee you will be delighted.
Welcome back to Swartz Talking Sports. I'm your host, Les Swartz, live from Santa Rosa Beach, Florida. The man in the middle, Al the Rattler Chester. The man to my right, look at him, the legendary Benny the Book, the king of Carolina. Guys.
Benny the Book.
Guys, I don't want to eat anything.
Extraordinary interview. Scott is tremendous. I think you'd have a brain hemorrhage if you knew what I consumed in my body. Holy God.
Benny, if he took a look at us,
my God.
I think he would have to put us on some kind of life support system.
Oh, God.
Now I'm watching, 6 Happiness and Millie's, and I'm like, I don't even want to touch ice cream. I don't want to touch sugar. I'm scared not to touch anything. He's fantastic.
That was a complete education right there, man. I tell you,
it really was.
We gotta get him back. And I tell you what, it'd be good to come back. Everybody's trying to do lifestyle changes the first of the year. You know what I mean? And he could make some recommendations. But I tell you what, that was an education in itself, and I really appreciate it. First class guy, man. I tell you what, really enjoyed that.
Tremendous.
Yeah, Scott, thank you so very, very much.
Extraordinary individual.
If you can help me out, it would be. I want to be here in 2 years. I want to be doing this show. Well, guys, listen, real quick. I know we got a lot of stuff going on. Before we get to the Rattler recap in the HBCU game of the week, a lot of stuff going on in college football. Okay, you got Alabama dropping their second game. The heat has been turned up on Kalen DeBoer. I don't think you can get rid of him or anything like that. That's kind of drastic. But there's grumblings in Alabama. People are not happy there. You've got some teams moving up, some teams moving down. The Big 12 now, you've got 2 undefeated teams, BYU and Iowa State. Listen, Pitt's undefeated, guys. No one's talking about the Panthers 6-0. They host Syracuse this week. They win that game. They move to 7-0, right? Notre Dame's back in the mix. You got A&M and LSU in a massive game, both undefeated in the SEC.
Iowa State, Indiana undefeated.
There's another one, guys.
Indiana looked tremendous.
And Al and I talked about that over the weekend. Indiana, people were questioning, wow, they didn't play anybody. They're not going to put up 30 plus against that Nebraska black shirt defense. Oh, really? 56 points on them, and their starting quarterback got knocked out in the first quarter. Al, what an outstanding offensive performance by the Hoosiers.
I'm telling you, man, that was some great football last Saturday. And don't forget the service academies. They're kicking butt too, man, playing some great football.
Yeah, no, I'm both undefeated, ranked 22nd and 23rd. I know, Benny, you're a big Notre Dame fan. I know you are, but wouldn't it be incredible if Navy and Army both finished undefeated and played each other in the last game of the year as undefeated teams? Tell me that would not be one of the greatest stories in college football history if that happened.
Yeah, yes, it would.
No question.
No doubt about it. The intensity and what the game means, even when they're 2-9, is unbelievable. I mean, because those guys are out there just playing for the love of the game and just wanting to play. They're not none of them really think about going to the pros. They got to serve afterwards anyway. They got to serve the country. So they're just playing for the love of the game and their teammates and their academies.
We talked about this doing previous shows. We talked about how the landscape is going to start shaping itself up. But I tell you what, we've seen some very good college football. Anything can happen. We don't have that traditional power that we can say Georgia, Alabama, because everybody's been getting beat. I bet everything in the bank on Texas beating Georgia. Georgia tore Texas butt completely up, and anything can happen. Tennessee beat Alabama.
Yep.
I mean, it's just hard really to predict. But the portal has kind of leveled the playing field. A lot of parity now in college football, and I think we're seeing the results of that.
Yeah, speaking of that, guys, did you guys just see this? I saw it today before we came on. Is that Clemson University, the University of Clemson, is now charging students, I think it's $150 or something dollars every student to put into a fund to pay athletes now at Clemson. So one of the schools was a ticket hike or something like that. I think it was Tennessee actually was doing the ticket increase to pay this. So they're figuring out ways now to generate income to pay these athletes. And I would think probably football and basketball players, they're the ones that generate the money. Those are the money sports, right? Football. So I'm curious to know how that's going to pay out. I'd love to talk to a student out there that's dealing with that.
I thought Dabo was against the
he was, but Clemson's passed it. They passed it. You look it up, Ben. I just saw it before we came on board, so that was kind of interesting. Well, let's do the Rattler recap. I know we've been on because this interview, we could have gone an hour and a half. That was such an enlightening interview. Lifestyle changes in health and fitness. But Al, let's do the Rattler recap. You guys, man, we heard the broadcast. We were listening to it as we were in the car. That was a tough one. Tough pill to swallow this week.
Tough loss, man. I tell you what, we were ahead 21-20 with 5 minutes left in the football game, and we couldn't get out of our own way. Quarterback fumbles, interceptions, miscues, and a great Jackson State football team was able to take advantage of that, and the final score was 35-21. And I tell you what, the season's not over for the Rattlers. I mean, we could circle back. Now, what makes this game really interesting is that this is the SWAC East, and these two teams will battle. We're going to need some help probably moving forward to try to play the West champion for the MEAC, for the SWAC championship. But what a great football game, great venue. The folks out there were tremendous. The Rattlers just let this one get away. But somebody's got to pay, and we reload this week against Southern University.
You got the Jags this weekend.
That's right. I tell you what, we're going to play them. They always travel well. They bring a big crowd with them, and we're expecting a good football game. We kick off at 7 Eastern Standard Time. This is the latest game we played this season, but I'm expecting a dogfight, and somebody's got to pay for what happened last week. But now we talk about the HBCU game of the week from last week. A little quick snapshot. Howard played Tennessee State. Tennessee State took care of business, beat Howard 27-14. That was a great game. It was in Tennessee. But this week's HBCU game is Delaware State Hornets will play the South Carolina State Bulldogs. And I tell you, this is going to be a good one in Oliver Dawson Stadium, October 23rd, 3 p.m. You got the head coach Lee Hall at Delaware State. They haven't played a conference game yet, so they're 0-0 in conference, but they're 1-6 overall. They're struggling, still trying to find themselves. Actually, this is the first conference game for both schools. Now, South Carolina State, man, they got a new head coach, Chandler Berry. He got those guys humming. They gave the Rattlers a fit early in the season. They are 4-2 overall and 0-0 in conference play. So again, this game is going to be on TV, ESPN Plus. Should be a classic. I'm leaning my hat towards South Carolina State and Chandler Berry. The Bulldogs are going to take care of the Hornets from Delaware State.
I think the book's high on the Bulldogs this week.
Yeah, Bulldogs. They're gonna run this score up on this team 1-6.
So the Bulldogs are going to sting the Hornets, is what we're looking at.
Bulldogs.
Al, listen, best of luck this week at Southern. And again, for everyone out there, I got a chance to hook up with Mr. Chester over the weekend in Jacksonville Beach with my amazing chat girl, Joni. We had an absolutely amazing 3 hours of conversation, laughter. It was awesome. And it was like meeting a long lost friend that I've known for years. It was just outstanding. So
a brother from another mother.
A brother from another mother. Thanks so much for making the trip. I know it wasn't long for you, but I appreciate you coming out and joining us and spend the evening with us. So good luck this weekend against Southern, and we'll see you next Wednesday night.
Have a great
week. All right, buddy.
Al.
Take care.
Take care, Al.
See Al.
Right.
All right, that was Al Chester. Again, Benny, my God, if Scott could get us lean and mean, he could do anything. I'll tell you.
I got to tell you, I'm scare me straight. EL Fudge, a package of EL Fudge in one night. I mean, he would say, "You got to be kidding me." He said, "You're still alive?"
I know you won't listen. I'm done. I swear.
Oh my God!
Whole turkey tonight.
My God!
I mean, thank God. I'm in Santa Rosa Beach. I'm at the Simmons house. They're healthy. I mean, they eat the right stuff, and I'm starting right now. I am not going out. I'm not eating sugars. No more Millie's. I love Millie's. I'm not going to ice cream. I'm done.
I buy the iced tea, the gold leaf.
No soda.
I like the one with the lemon in it. Lisa says, "You know how much sugar's in that?" I said, "Oh my God! I drink a bottle of that a night."
We can't do that anymore. All right, let's get real quick. Let's go to the college games. You got your 3-star games, and then you got a couple of 2-star games. So I know you got Syracuse Pitt. That's one we talked about.
Yep. I'm gonna lean it towards Syracuse plus the 6 points. Pitt's a good squad. Pitt's a good squad. The quarterback for Syracuse having a tremendous year. He really,
What's play good.
He's really playing good. Pittsburgh transfer quarterback's playing good, but I watched him a couple times, and he tends to make some mistakes. So if he makes mistakes against Syracuse, they're going to score. Pittsburgh has a very good defense, but I'll take Syracuse.
Former Eli Holstein, former Alabama Crimson Tide, and they got Reed in the backfield, who's gaining some nominations for Heisman Trophy, which we haven't even touched yet. Oh my God, we're about to do the Heisman Trophy thing this week. Okay, we got Indiana and we got
versus the Washington Huskies. I'm going to lay the 6 points with Indiana, laying those 6.5 points against Washington. Washington's got a good defense, but Indiana, they're going to score against anybody.
Best offense in the country.
The coach is great. The system, he's got them moving. So,
well, you know something? Signetti comes over from James Madison, brings a ton of transfers with him, especially from JMU. And I don't think they've scored below 42 points this year, Betty. Best offense in college football.
Yep.
This is a biggie. And this would be a joke, but Vanderbilt, they get an 18
and a half points. Yep. 18 and a half points. I'm gonna take them. They score. They got an offense. They score points. They scored against Alabama. They scored against everybody. So I'll take the 18 and a half points. Texas coming down a little bit. I'm a little nervous. They might want to bounce back, but 18 and a half points, a lot of points against a good scoring offense.
A&M at home against my Tigers of LSU.
Yep. Sooner or later, somebody's got to beat this team. I mean, you were saying you didn't think they were going to win 4 games this year, and what are they, 7-1, 6-1?
Garrett Nussmeier has moved his way up the Heisman ladder. He's now seriously, if they can beat A&M, he's got to be in contention for the Heisman Trophy.
Every week since he started last year in the bowl game, he has produced.
Yeah,
and they lost their receivers, but he still has a good crop of receivers. They just make receivers at LSU, and You know, the defense is
Kenny,
playing
you
better.
was voted 100% in the poll to bring Scott back again. So what do you think we have to do?
Oh, got to bring him back.
We got to bring him back. All right.
I
And now
think
you
we
got
should
your
do
Notre Dame Fighting Irish
Yep.
against the undefeated 23rd
Undefeated
ranked Navy.
Navy. Yep. 12 and a half. I'll lay the 12 and a half with Navy's good, but they haven't played anybody like Notre Dame. And Notre Dame seems to be rolling. You know, their offense is going, their defense is tremendous. Yeah. They play, you know, I mean, they went to Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech was 5-2. They rolled over them.
Well, they didn't. No, in all fairness, Haynes King did not play. Their starting quarterback, who's one of the best dual threat guys in the country, wasn't playing for Georgia Tech. But I agree with you in this game. Notre Dame's size. Yeah. You know, I think Navy will battle them hard, but the size and the athletic ability of Notre Dame will break the game open. And I'm expecting Notre Dame to win by 14 to 17 points.
Yeah.
All right, now let's go to the NFL. Let's look at your top pro picks. I think Benny's 16-12 this year.
Yeah, it was 2-2 last week.
2-2. All right.
Minnesota, I gotta give props. Detroit is a great team. Yeah. I mean, they lost their best defensive player, but Jared Goff, I mean, he had 17 completions. He didn't throw an incompletion until the second half.
Yeah. Fantastic.
He broke your boy's record too, I think, for percentage, 83 point something percent in the game.
That wouldn't be my boy Joe Montana, would it?
No, it would be your boy that got hurt from LSU, Washington.
Jaden Daniels.
Jaden Daniels got hurt. Yeah.
I mean, Daniels, hopefully it's not serious, a rib injury, but they're saying it might be, he might sit out one game, but
his mother said he's okay.
And moms know best.
His mother said he's okay. Exactly. All right. So we're going to go with, in the college, I mean, the pros, we're going to go, I like Houston minus the 6 versus Indianapolis.
Against the Colts. All right.
Yeah. The Colts are a good team. Richardson, he shows flashes at time. But
you can't say anything bad about Richardson. He's a Florida Gator. I'm in the house of the Gators, so I can't say bad.
But Houston's for real. I mean, they had a tough. They lost a tough one. They were beating Green Bay. Green Bay came from behind to beat them. So,
all right.
Second game, I'll keep betting against Carolina. I mean, Denver's defense,
terrible.
They're going to shut them out. They're not going to score a point in Denver. So
Dalton was in a car wreck. Did you hear that with his family?
His whole family, and even the family pet. The dog was in the car, his children, his wife, but everybody,
nothing serious.
Yeah, everybody's is okay. They said I don't even think they had to go to the hospital.
Bryce Young's going to start. That's going to be a train wreck. I agree. Denver runs rough.
So Denver runs rough shit. Next one, I'm going to go with Pittsburgh minus 6 versus the New York Giants.
And Russell Wilson.
You know what? After the first 3 series, I said, "What did he do, the coach? Well, why is he starting this guy? They're 4-2. They're winning with the kid." But after the third thing, he made some great plays. I still think they're better off with the kid in there, because there were a few times where if he was in there, he would have ran for 30 yards and got first downs. And
Wilson made some big throws in the second half to make that thing open.
But his receivers made some great catches also.
And the Giants are pretty lowly right now.
They don't score. They can't put the ball in the end zone.
All right, so you like the Steelers.
And my final game, and I think 2 is coming back this week. Yep. I'm going to like Miami at home minus the 3 against Arizona. Arizona's an up and down squad. They could be they could be good. They could be bad.
I my Chargers last week.
Yeah, I know. I was surprised at that too. You know, I thought the Chargers were favored in the game.
Yeah.
And they won. But I'm going to go with Miami minus the 3 at home. Hopefully Tua will play, get the offensive rolling, and they should score more points than them.
Here's the thing. It's, you're not picking this game at all, but just looking at it, it's funny. Kansas City's undefeated. Only last undefeated team. Minnesota lost. But Patrick Mahomes is having his worst year statistically by far. He's thrown more interceptions than touchdowns. He only threw for $154 last week. Casey's doing it with defense and a running game. That's how they're winning football games right now.
And they lost their best running back.
Yeah, they did. Now I think Hopkins is signing tonight. I think
he did. He signed. Yeah, he signed already.
Hopkins goes there, so that gives him another weapon to use, because Marquise Brown's out for the year. So
and the tight end, he's not catching anything.
He's no. I know what he's catching. He's catching kisses from Taylor Swift in the stands.
Yeah.
Good luck. Good luck to him. Good luck. I don't want to see Taylor Swift anymore. Great. She's a great musician. I like to see her. Great songs. I don't want to see her in a football game. That's just my opinion.
Yep.
All right. Well, listen, Ben, we've gone on. This has been a long show, but we had a great interview. We learned a lot personally. You and I did, and we're just going to have to make sure we're going to have to watch each other. We're going to have to check each other, Ben. No
Wow.
late night, indulgence. We can't do it.
I got to throw away everything in my refrigerator. Frosted Flakes. I love Frosted Flakes. Come on. How am I going to live without Frosted Flakes?
No,
I got to ask Scott about coffee.
Oh,
he didn't mention nothing about coffee.
I have to talk. Well, we're going to have Scott back. Hopefully,
yeah, we definitely do.
Scheduled to come on again for a full hour, and I think that we can get 10 times more people to tune in because you got to go the gospel, Scott Parker gospel, and it'll make you live longer. And I like the way he said that too. It wasn't a quick fix.
Yeah.
Would you want to be somewhere in 25 years? Not in 2 weeks, right? So that was a great interview. So I want to thank our special guest tonight, Scott Parker, celebrity, a personal trainer. He was outstanding.
Yeah.
Biggest live audience we've ever had in the show's history. Joni was running me back forth questions. So God, I appreciate her so much. And I know what she's going to be doing after this. She's going to put me on the straight and narrow. I definitely know that. Again, Al Chester, outstanding meeting my man down in Jacksonville Beach. It was great. So good luck this week against Southern. So for our special guest, Scott, Joni, my amazing chat girl, Al the Rattler Chester, Benny the Book, the King of Carolina, my producer, Tony the Tiger Smeraldi, for putting this whole thing together remote. Tony, outstanding job. This is Les Schwartz. We'll see you next Wednesday, 8 p.m. Former NFL punter Greg Tolman with the Minnesota Vikings will be live at 8 p.m. next Wednesday. Take care, everybody.
Take care.